Bhagavatam, Canto number 2, chapter 2, beginning from text number 670. Sri Sukadeva Goswami is explaining how a yogi meditates on the form of the Lord, and then he gave a process when he wants to give up his body, or he has to sit in a comfortable position and control mind, senses, life air, and not bother about any pious place or any pious time for leaving the body. So by doing this, then he has to merge the mind into intelligence into the conditioned soul, Kshetragya into the Atma into Paramatma, and then he becomes free from all conditioning. So this particular verse is describing the state, what is the quality of this particular state which he attains. He says, Nayatra kalo nimisham para prabhu kuto nu deva jagatam yai shire nayatra sattvam narajastamascha navai vikaro namaham pradhanam. He says, in that particular place, the time does not exist. Because he is not specified any characteristics or movements in that. And as we read the previous verse, the commentator Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has translated this word Atma, where it is said that he merges pure soul into Atma, and he translated this Atma as Brahman. So in Brahman there is no question of time, because time we cannot perceive unless we see certain change. We don't have any specific sense to know time. We have 5 senses, external senses, and then we have the mind. So 5 external senses can only sense taste, touch, smell, form and sound. These are the only 5 things we can perceive. Whatever we perceive has to be one of these 5 things or a combination of these 5. And with mind, we perceive basically happiness and distress, besides what is coming from the 5 senses, these 5 perceptions. So where is the time? So time is perceived by action. Therefore we always relate time with sun, and sun is also moving, of course, but earth is moving around the sun, and this movement between sun and earth gives us the perception of time. If we don't perceive this movement, then we will not know time. Therefore, when you go in deep sleep, you don't perceive time. When you wake up, only by seeing the watch, because something has moved there, or by seeing outside, something has moved, the light has changed, then you know that time has changed. Otherwise, you cannot get the feeling. So when you become absorbed in something very deeply, then it becomes also difficult to perceive time. It looks as if time has just passed quickly when something happy is going on, because you become absorbed in it. And if you are suffering, then a short period also looks more, because your mind is restless, it doesn't get fixed upon anything. So sometimes it is said that time is relative. But you only see it in relationship of other things. It is said that time depends on which side of the bathroom you are. There is only one bathroom and there are 10 people using it. Like we were in Switzerland, there are 25 people in one bathroom. So the time is fast or slow. It depended whether you were inside the bathroom or you were outside. Waiting for it. So it is perceived, but in Brahman, at the level of Brahman, because there is no movement, there is no perception, nothing. So there is no time. Really speaking, time exists. But time, you can say, exercises an influence, and there is no influence there. And you cannot even perceive whether there is influence or no influence. There is nothing you perceive in the Brahman. So therefore it says, Nayatra Kalo Animisham Paraprabhu. Time is the controller even of the devas, demigods. They are called Animisha. Demigods, they don't blink because their eyes are always open. So if you want to check whether somebody is a demigod or not, you have to see if he is blinking. So they are called here Animisha. This blinking is called Nimisha. So demigods are Animisha. But time is even controlling them. They are also under the influence of time, therefore they have to die. So even time does not exist there, then what to speak of the demigods? Therefore it says, Kutonu Deva Jagatam Yaishire. It says what to speak of Deva who control this world. Because even their controller, time, does not exist there. So time exists, but its influence is not perceived. So it is as good as not existing, because soul does not undergo any change. And if there is only soul, and everything is just consciousness, then nothing changes. Because consciousness does not change. So you don't perceive it. Therefore it is said that there is no time in the spiritual world. In the material world, everything is undergoing transformation. And therefore, you are able to perceive the influence of time. And by perceiving the influence of time, then you guess that there is time. So really speaking, we don't perceive time, we perceive the influence of time. And from that influence, we conjecture the existence of time. It's a very big puzzle. If you ask anybody what is time, it's very difficult to give an answer. In science also they talk about time. But if you ask your professor what is time, so you can talk about the influence of time, but what is time itself, that is difficult to explain. So in that place there is no time. Netra kalo animisham para prabhu kutonu deva jagtam ishve. Netra sattvam ne rajas tamasya nevai vikaro na mahan pradhana. And there is no sattva. These three modes of nature, these three constituents, although they are called guna, but guna means quality, but they are not the quality of nature, they are the constituents. Nature is made of them, these things. Quality is something which is inherent in an object, and constituents are that which make it. So Sattva, Rajas, Tama, these are the three elements which constitute nature. They don't exist there. And therefore there is no ahankar, navai vikaro. Vikar refers to the ego. And na mahan, there is no mahatatva, the intellect, nor pradhanam. Pradhan is the ultimate state of matter. So these things don't exist. That means this state which yogi reaches, that is not material. Because all these things he has given up. If you remember, he said that mind is merged into intelligence, into kshetragya, into the pure soul, and pure soul into Brahman. So at the soul level itself there is no matter. Everything else is given up before that. And that's why there was no duty, there was no responsibility for him. It says Viramet Krityat, there is nothing for him to do. When he is Labdha Ukshanti, he becomes completely peaceful. There is nothing which can disturb him now. Disturbances come from the matter and from material desires. These desires are like the waves. So at that level there are no mind. There is no mind, there is no chitta, there is nothing. There is no basis for the desires. The desires are related with some goal, some object, and those things don't exist. There is only Brahman. So there is complete peace, no disturbance. So Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti says, Nacha muktam kopi atikramyati. He says that a liberated person is not transgressed by anything. We saw that mind was transgressed by intelligence, intelligence by kshetragya, kshetragya by soul, and below mind there are senses, and below senses there are the sense objects. So these were different levels. But a liberated person is not transcended by anything. He becomes situated in his own swarupa, tata swarupa avasthiti. Yatra prapt brahma swarupe tasmin animisham devanam api parah shasta kalo na prabhu. So when he has attained this brahma swarupa, realization of Brahman, then even time is not the master anymore for him. He goes beyond time. Therefore, this liberation is transcendental to the influence of time. That's why it is called eternal. Because if it is under the influence of time, then it will not be eternal. Anything which is eternal is not influenced by time. Because the influence of time is to bring a transformation in it. Prakriti is also eternal, but it undergoes transformation. So therefore it is not said to be transcendental to time. But Atma, the pure soul, is not affected by it. Therefore a Mukta Purusha, the liberated person, is not controlled by it, by time. Under time, he controls the devas, but not the muktatma. Therefore, the liberated person is superior even to the demigods. And that's why demigods become envious. When somebody wants to endeavor for the path of liberation, path of devotion, then demigods, they become envious because they know that this person is going to go above them. You become envious of those people who want to go beyond you. This is material characteristic. This is the meaning of envy. So they try to put some obstacle. But they are also material beings. They are powerful people, but they are material. They are not transcendentalists. But now this person goes beyond their influence. Tatra kutonu devaha prabhaveyu. Why is that the devas they cannot influence? Because even time cannot influence who is controlling the devas. Ye deva indradyaha jagatam prakrit jagatsu eva ishire ishanchakri. The demigods like Indra etc. They can exercise their power only in the material world, not in the spiritual world, not in Brahman. Nanu tadeva brahma kim surupam tatraha nayatra satyam. Then he asked the question that what is the nature of Brahman? So that nature is described nayatra sattvam rajas tamasya navai vikaro mahan pradhana. That in Brahman there is no sattva, there is no rajas, there is no tamas, there is no ahankar, ego, no mahan, the intelligent element, and no pradhanam, the subtle form of material nature and manifest nature. So all these things they don't exist there. Yatra brahmani vikara ahankara. Ahankar, ego is called vikar, which also means transformation or change, because it is ego which is bringing all kinds of changes in us. And change means makes one fall down from one's position. That is the power of ahankar. Therefore it is called as vikar. It brings the soul originally is transcendental to matter, but ahankar makes him implicated in this world. Then in the next verse he gives further explanation. It says param padam vaishnavam mamananti tadiyanneti neti ti atadutsrikshava susrikshavaha vishrijya dauratmya mananya sauhrida hidopaguyaraha padam pade pade. He says this place is called supreme position by the scriptures, Vaishnava Padam, the place of Lord Vishnu. And those people who want to give up atab, tab means supreme, and from that only we get tattva, the supreme nature. They say not this, not this. Means this material world is not God. So we begin with taking this material world as God, and at this level he is only fixing his mind on the supreme form of God. So he says neti neti iti atad utsrikshava susrikshava, desiring to give up, reject all that which is not God. They say not this, not this, because they are interested only in the transcendental position of the Lord, which is called Vaishnava. So Visrijya Dauratmyam Ananya Shwahida. They give up identifying with the material body, material elements completely. And Ananya Shwahida, they fix their mind only on the Supreme and nothing else. Hridab Guhyarha Padam Pade Pade. With their heart, they worship the feet of the Lord at every moment. Because there is no other thought in their mind. So this is the position. Sattvadaya katham nasanti ityaha param pradhanat param. Why the sattva etc. don't exist? He says param pradhanam, because it is superior even to pradhan, which was mentioned in the previous verse. Ateva Vaishnav Padam Vishnu Nirvishesh Swarupam. Therefore it is called Vaishnav Pada, or the unqualified form of Lord Vishnu, because Brahman is also unqualified form of Lord Vishnu. As Krishna says, Brahmano hi pratishtha amritasya vyasya. So he is also the pratishtha of Brahman, which is immortal and imperishable. But Brahman is nirvishesha. Nirvishesha means it does not have any specific qualities. Lord Vishnu has qualities, he has form. But Brahman does not have any qualities or any form. It is formless and qualityless. But it is transcendental to material nature. Tat prasiddhameva tadapi bhagavat bhakta naradadeva yatha jananti na tatha jnanino api. And this Brahman is known by great devotees like Narada. The Jnanis who are actually trying to know Brahman and attain Brahman, these so-called Jnanis, the Advaitavadis, they cannot know Brahman. Although they think and they talk about Brahman and they think they are Brahman, but actually they cannot know. Because to know Brahman, you have to become free from matter, and that is only possible with the help of Bhakti, as we read. And if they don't take to devotion, they cannot become liberated. Therefore he says that only devotees like Narada, they know Brahman. A devotee knows Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan. And those who do not accept Bhagavan and try to know Brahman, they cannot know him. It is not possible. They can understand up to Pradhan, and they can also do Neti Neti. In the Upanishads also it is mentioned, not this, not this. But they don't have any positive idea. So Brahman realization also comes only by devotion. Therefore it is said, Brahma Bhuta Prasanna Atmana Soshati Nakankashati Samaya Sarveshu Bhuteshu Man Bhakti Lavte Param. Or in Bhagavad Gita, 14th chapter, Arjuna asked this question, that how can one become transcendental to the modes of nature? So Krishna says that Mam Chayo Bhakti Yogena Mam Chavya Vicharana Bhakti Yogena Sevate Sagunam Sampityetam Brahma Bhujaya Kalpate. That one who performs Avyabhichari Bhakti, undeviated devotion unto me, only he can realize Brahman. Because Brahman is the first thing which is free from the modes of nature. And beyond that you have Bhagavan, the Vaikuntha planets, they are all free. So first level of realization beyond the modes of nature is the qualityless feature of Bhagavan called Brahman. But this qualityless feature of Brahman cannot be known without knowing Bhagavan, because it is his feature. So those people, especially in India, who are trying to become Brahman realized without devotion, they will never be successful. So therefore he said here, Tadapi Bhagavad Bhakta Naradadaya Eva Yatha Jananti. It's only Narada, etc. They only know. He says the way they know, the others don't know. Others have their speculative understanding. Na tatha jnanino api. Even jnanis, they don't understand it. Yat brahma neti neti iti evam atat tad vyatiriktam vastum utsisrikshava asamyag amananti jnananti. So they try to know this Brahman by giving up everything else by saying not this, which is atat. Atat means material, tat means spiritual. So they desire to give up everything material. And samyak eva avananti jananti, they know it properly. Kim kritva dauratmam, how do they know this? Dauratmam keval jnaninam eva nirbuddhitvam visrijya. They give up the stupidity like the jnanis. See, these jnanis, they are nirbuddhi. They don't have a very good intelligence because they don't know how to realize them. So that is the Dauratma described here. Crookedness. Kidrisha Ananya Swahida. And what is their nature? They are Ananya Swahida, Vishnu Sambandhi Vyatirik Vastuni Sneha Bhavanta. They don't have any attachment to anything which is not related to Vishnu. Although everything is related to Vishnu, but if it is not directly used in the service of Lord Vishnu, or not directly related to him as his expansion or his scriptures, etc., then they are not having any relationship, any affection, or any love for such things. So that is the meaning of Ananya Sohrida. Sohrida means friendship, and Ananya means that which is not related to the Lord. That which is related to the Lord, Ananya, Nanya iti Ananya, which is not something different but in relationship with Lord Vishnu. So with that they have affection, and in everything else they don't have any affection. Arhasya pujyasya Sri Vishnoho padam charnarvindam pade pade kshane kshane Vrida upguhya idameva asmakam sarvatmiti alinga. So at every moment they embrace the feet of the Lord Vishnu. And what does it mean? Considering that this is our real wealth, there is nothing besides this. Atra atad utsrijanta iti anukte yada Swaprabhor Brahma Swarupam Kevalam Anubhushanti Tada Atatyaktum Ichavo Bhavanti Sarvathatu Bhagavat Sevo Karanatvat Drishyam Jagat Na Tajanti Tirtho Lamati. So he gives a very nice meaning to this word Atat Utsrikshavaha. Literally means they are desiring to give up that which is not related to Tat. So he says that the verse did not say that they give up. It says that they desire to give up. But why it is saying that they desire to give up? It should have said that they give it up. So he says that there are two types of people. Those who are interested in realizing Brahman and those who are devotees interested in serving the form of the Lord. So those who are interested in realizing Brahman, they desire to give up. But the devotees, they have to use it in the service of the Lord. Because if you give up everything, material which you see all around us, then you cannot do any service to the Lord. So then where is your devotion? Devotion means that you perform service with whatever you have. So therefore it was said that they desire to give up, not that they give up. Atad utsrijanta iti anukte yada swaprabhor brahmaswarupam kevalam anubhushanti tada atatyaktum. That when they are talking about Brahman, which is the form of Lord, the qualityless feature of the Lord, then they desire to give up. Because in that realization or in their understanding, all these objects cannot have any meaning. Because in case of Brahman, only Brahman exists. So then they desire to give up. But when it comes to question to serving the Lord, Sarvathatu Bhagavat Sevo Pranatvat Drishyam Jagat. Otherwise, all this visible world is a paraphernalia for serving the Lord. With everything you can serve Him. So if it is a paraphernalia to serve Him, then where is the question of giving it up? So therefore they don't give up. It was only said that they desire to give up, and that desire is only when they want to speak about Brahman, the impersonal feature of the Lord. Dauratmamiti Vishnor Dehe Maikattu Buddhimanto Duratmane Yogya. And Dauratma here, the crookedness is that they do not try to consider that Lord's body is material. The impersonalists, even if they do some devotion to the Lord, they think that Lord's form is material. They think that Krishna's body is material, Vishnu's body is material. There was one impersonalist, he was giving a lecture and he was saying that impersonalists, they are better than Shiva, they are better than Vishnu, and they are better than Brahma. How? He was saying because these impersonalists, those who realize impersonalism, they are free from the modes of nature, as it is being described here. Nayatra sattvam rajas tamascha navai vikaro mahana pradhanam. So they are free. But he says that Vishnu is not free from the modes of nature. He says Vishnu is very greedy. Therefore he keeps Lakshmi. And Shiva is very angry. He gets angry very quickly. Everybody knows this. And Brahma, he is in Rajagun. Therefore he is full of desires. So he says Kama, Krodha and Lobha. These three. One is supposed to be free from Kama, Krodha and Lobha. As Krishna also says that these are the three gates to hell. Trividham Dwaram Narkasya Dwaram. And these are the three gates to hell. Kama is desires, and Krodha is anger, and Lobha is greed. So it says Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva. One has Kama, the other has Krodha, and the third one has Lobha, greed. So it says therefore these people, they are lower than the Brahmagyanis. So this is the explanation. So this is called Dauratmya. This is called the crookedness of the heart, the wickedness of the heart. So these people here who are being described, although they realize Brahman, they don't have such crookedness. Therefore it was said Dauratmyam Visrijya. Visrijya Dauratmyam Ananya Shavaida Hrida Upguhyarha Padam Padaya Padaya. At every moment they are embracing the feet of the Lord. So these are two different types of Brahmavadis or Brahmagyanis. Those people who think that Lord's form is material, they cannot realize Brahman. If one wants to realize Brahman, one has to have this type of practice. He has to accept Lord Vishnu and know Him to be supreme. That is another thing, that he wants to realize Brahman. So for that reason he said that these devotees like Narada etc., only they understand Brahman, which is the Nirvishesha form, the qualityless form of Lord. Vishnu. And the other so-called jnanis, they don't know it. Nor can they realize. So they will take birth here only. They cannot become liberated. This is a very harsh reality. You tell this, then people become upset. They think that we are fanatics. And this is written in the Shastra itself. Vyasadeva is writing, Sukadeva is speaking. So this difference must be known, that these people, they consider Lord's body as material. They build temples, they worship. Their idea is that by doing devotion you can concentrate your mind, then you have to give up that form. It is only a means for them. Lord's form is not supreme, it is not their ultimate goal. It's only a means to attain their goal. But because they commit offense by doing it, they cannot attain. So we'll stop here if there is any question.
And so this type of people, their mistake is not accepting the form of the Lord, right?
Not accepting the form of Lord as transcendental.
As transcendental.
And this is a very big mistake.
But they have to refer to some scriptures when they say the body of the Lord is material. Otherwise, how to accept the statement of this?
Well, scriptures are kalptaru. They misinterpret scriptures. Because their acharyas have done that. Shankaracharya has done like that. And they have faith in his words. So they give wrong meaning to the statements.
And this influence of the time, that it can be perceived through into the action. So then we are not able to perceive time as time is, like what really it is, only by the action. So then, in the spiritual world there is no time. So then, means that there is no action in that sense. Or
there is time there. There is time in spiritual world.
There is time in spiritual world.
But it does not have influence.
Means there are no transformations?
But it is spirit.
So there are action in a system where there are no transformations. No action but no transformations.
Activities are going on, Lord is performing his pastime. But there, everything is for his pleasure. None that is forced by time to undergo change. It's not material, simply. It is only matter which undergoes transformation in time.
Do all impersonalists accept Shankaracharya? Do all impersonalists accept Shankaracharya?
Well, there are different schools of impersonalists. There are some who are followers of Shankaracharya, and then there are others also, like Kashmir Shaivism. So that's a different school. They don't follow Shankaracharya.
Would you once again explain this 1980 section that you were?
He is referring that the word which is used here is atat utsrikshavaha. Atat means that which is not real. or that which is not absolute, means material. And Utsashikshava means the desire to give it up. So he is making the point that why was it said that they desire to give it up instead of saying that they give it up. So he says that if you give it up, all these material, visible things, then how will you perform service to the Lord? So a devotee does not give it up. But if he wants to realize Brahman, then it has to be given up. Because in Brahman there is no service, nothing. So then he may desire to give it up. Not that he gives it up, but just to have that realization. Or if he has to explain it according to the Brahman realization, then also it has to be done like that. That is the significance.
So, intellectually he gives it up.
No.
The devotee doesn't give up.
No.
Now, why should a devotee desire to understand Brahman?
If you want.
If he wants. That refers to
They are yoga bhaktas.
Kumaras and
Then they will desire. If someone is following pure devotion, then there is no need for it. But as we already read that these are Bhakti Mishra yogis. So their destination is Brahman.
But then for them there is no any chance to realize Brahman like that.
Brahman can be realized only through devotion, not Brahman.
So then it's useless effort.
What is useless?
I mean, meditating and trying to avoid to link things with God. Is that possible? Because if they refuse that is a manifestation of God, impersonal manifestation of God itself, then they cannot do it. They cannot get it.
Yeah, if they don't accept this, then they cannot realize.
So what is actually that acceptance of the Lord from the Ayapaya Brahmavadi? He accepts Bhagavan as transcendental, spiritual, as a person,
And he accepts
to
that Brahman
fulfill
is-
his desire to understand Brahman or to be Brahman realized.
Yeah, if he wants to become Brahman realized, then he can become Brahman realized like this. Then he has to desire to give it up. But if he has no desire, then he doesn't give it up.
But once he is Brahman realized, then he has to give up, he has no more connection with Bhagavan. There's no more service, there's no more perception.
That's why he said that they don't desire to give up, they don't give up.